I've recently been asked why I prefer to call myself an atheist rather than an agnostic. And I believe a thorough response to that question is warranted. Atheism and agnosticism are two very different approaches toward the question of whether or not there exists any God or gods. An agnostic says merely that he does not know whether there exists any God or gods, and he's not going to make any assumptions in favor of the affirmative position or the negative position. An agnostic does not say that he does not believe in any God. He simply says that he cannot answer the question as to whether one exists, so for the time being, at least until he's convinced on the matter one way or the other, he's not going to make any commitments. He will not attend any particular church, he will not follow the tenets of any particular faith, at least not because they were commanded by a particular deity. And he will also abstain from categorically denying that any god or gods exist. An atheist, on the other hand, believes that he knows that there is no god or gods, and he believes that he can demonstrate this knowledge in some fashion. Now, I call myself an atheist, and I call myself an atheist because I believe that I know that no god or gods exist. Now, in some cases, it is because the concept of God, especially as defined by the three major monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, is a self-contradictory concept. So, logically, I believe that it is impossible for such a God to exist. Now, as an example of the contradiction, consider that this God is defined to be simultaneously omnipotent and omniscient. Now, there are problems with this definition. Let us say that one posed a question to this simultaneously omnipotent and omniscient God, and the question would go like this: God, because you are omniscient, can you tell me which team will win the next World Series game? Will it be Team A or Team B? And God, in his omniscience, will say Team A, or he will say Team B. And I would continue, well, God, if you're omnipotent, can you change the outcome of this game so that the other team will win? And either way that God responds, he will be trapped, and the concept cannot be rescued. Because if he responds, yes, I can change the outcome, then God might be omnipotent, at least within the parameters of this dilemma, but he will then not have been omniscient, because he will have told me the wrong answer to my original question. Because if God can change the outcome, and he does, then it will be the other team that will actually win the World Series, not the team that God initially said would win the World Series. Now, if God answers that he cannot change the outcome, then obviously God is not omnipotent, even though he might still be omniscient within the parameters of this particular dilemma. There are other reasons why I believe that the concepts of omnipotence and omniscience and omnibenevolence and infinite magnitudes of any quality whatsoever are logical impossibilities. But a more thorough discussion of that follows in my essay, 5 Arguments for the Non-Existence of God, which is linked in the description to this video. If you're interested in a deeper presentation of a few of my reasons for being an atheist, then I encourage you to explore that essay, as well as some of my other writings and videos on the subject. But suffice it to say, I, as an atheist, have no disrespect whatsoever for agnostics. Agnostics may genuinely not know whether there's a God or not. And as rational, autonomous thinking individuals, I would not wish them to commit to any position until they independently examine all the arguments from all the sides and decide for themselves whether or not they want to believe in a God. Other agnostics may just consider the issue irrelevant to their own particular individual contexts and their own lives, And that might make sense because to many the idea of God seems so remote and distant from more pressing everyday concerns that it's perfectly reasonable why they wouldn't explore the issue in enough depth to warrant either acceptance or rejection of this idea. If, for instance, they are focused on running a successful business or managing a family or pursuing other kinds of studies, and all of their time is occupied with this, then surely one cannot insist on them making a decision on this very complex, multifaceted, and important issue. One would at least hope that any decision they make would be an informed decision, and withholding a fixed, permanent commitment one way or the other is quite understandable if they have neither the time nor resources to devote to it. Many good people I know are agnostics, and none of this is meant to slight any agnostics. But I believe that I myself have considered these issues in sufficient depth and for a long time, and I have come to believe that no God or gods exists, nor can possibly exist. Therefore, I call myself an atheist.